yes, sir. Happy New Year, man. 2021. Welcome
Yes,
back
sir.
to
Yes,
United
sir.
Podcast Show. Now we have a new slogan that's added to our United Podcast: Knowledge without borders.
Exactly.
It's something that we wanted to come in fresh for the new year, and man, I really think that you guys are gonna dig, the new show that we have coming up with tonight. So it's gonna touch dearly because I think we all have our little issues with this. It may not be a little to some people, but it's an issue. So man, I want to dive into it, but let me let my brother say hello for the Happy New Year here. Let me kick it to my brother Eddie. Yo, Happy New Year, my brother. How you doing?
Happy New Year. Yo, Chuck. All right. Yo, Chuck, thank you so much. Once again, Happy New Year, 2021. Last year was a very challenging year. This year, we're gonna make it a little bit more popping for you. We're gonna bring new content, new topics, and of course, it's always guided by what you guys leave in the comments. So, just want to say thank you, much blessings to you, and let's just begin.
Yes, sir. Manny Fresh. How you doing, brother?
What's up, my brother? Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Appreciate the intro. Eddie, well said, man. Happy New Year to everyone. Can't wait to get it popping. 2021, we're gonna rock it. And this year, definitely. Well, last year really made you appreciate a lot of things, right? The little things that we take for granted. So now let's see, what I'm saying, 2021, we take put things in fruition and make it happen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Manny Fresh. And my brother Ray.
Yeah. 2021.
Looking
smooth.
Happy New Year,
Looking
my brother.
smooth.
Finally
here.
Finally here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
Had to go. But yes, clean and ready to rock. Yes,
sir.
2021 is ready. It's been a little bit rocky already, week one, but listen, let's just take this and keep it moving. I echo everything that was said here, Eddie, Manny, and Charles. Let's just get it going. All right. So knowledge without borders. That's what we're kicking. Knowledge without borders.
Yes, sir. So I'm gonna dive right into it. So the topic for this show here is communication with kids. So it's hard enough trying to communicate with an adult, right? So how much extra effort do you have to put in trying to communicate with the kid? That's big, because it's, like I said, once again, it's hard. So I just want to, man, because I have, I've had that challenge, of my own. So it's hard. So I'm kind of speaking from what brought me out of. So, but I want to get you guys and, get everybody's opinion on what you think, or how should we communicate with our kids? So I always love to hear from my brother Eddie, because that's what he does. So I think he can really give us a big insight on this. So
yes, sir.
Let us hear you.
All right. Thank you, Chuck, man. You guys always make me, now I gotta live up to this. Got it.
Nah, man.
But,
and guess what, Eddie? You do. You always live it up to you do.
Oh, thank you, my brothers. Thank you.
You do.
Communication is key, I think, in any relationship, whether it's from parent to child, teacher to child, teacher to teacher, child to child. I think it's very important for us to pay attention to behaviors, to children, but also have knowledge of self, right? Because if you have knowledge of self, then you know how to approach another person. Empathy is a big deal as well, right? You have to think how the other person thinks in order for you to kind of find that entry, But just to kind of go back to the original question is how to communicate with children. Nowadays things are a little bit different. Children are fixed with different hobbies, and technology is a big component. And it almost feels like, I'll speak from a parent's point of view. It almost feels like if I'm not on the other side of that phone, it's a little bit hard to kind of speak to my child, just person to person, the way we used to do it before. With all this technology, wasn't an interruption, when we used to play different types of games. But I don't want to keep going, but I think that what I will say is communication starts from day one. And it can be just from the day the child is born. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even have to be verbal. It could be just gestures. It could be head movements. It could be arms, hands, cries. It could be the way a child moves. And it's key that we pay attention, and we pay attention with that intention of wanting to reach out and know the person you're talking to, And in this case, it would be children. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have a I'm gonna pose another question. Thank you, Eddie. That was a great answer.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna pose this question to my brother Ray, because there are so many different ways that we could always try to communicate. But there's a few key components that really hits hard that somewhat touches on, really putting you together with the kid. So if you could, at least give me one example.
So thank you for that, Chuck. I think, the primary, if there's anything that we need to take away from communication, is to understand that, just like I'm a technical guy, right? So on the network, you got to send and receive, right? If you just send and you don't receive, then your communication protocol is broken, right? So you just got to make sure that you understand that if you're communicating, that the other person, in this case, our children, right? And back to us, that we register and understand what's been translated, what's been communicated, right? It's always very dangerous to walk away thinking that the message that you wanted to deliver has been understood, number one. And number two, right, that has been like absorbed, right? Yeah. And with everything that you said, Eddie, in terms of the different ways of communication, the challenge, the hurdles that we have, us as parents, we have to make sure that not only we have to acknowledge that, but we also have to adjust our own perception of communication, right? Because, we grew in a different type of communication pattern, right? Or protocol or engagement, right? It was very easy. Like there's this, when you've been grounded, in my look or a sound, I got it. Right? That's right. But nowadays you're like, and if you don't have that, and it's very dangerous to have that person walk away. I personally, I've been, it's been a tough year for me in terms of being able to make sure that, I had to stop for a while and say, okay, I'm trying to deliver a message. It's not working. Right. I tried the way that I've known. It's not working. Mm-hmm. So I had to educate myself. I had to not only educate myself, but also, and you've known this, seek other person's perspective to see, okay, maybe if I don't know what's going on, let me see another person's perspective. Right. You all, and you said, okay, maybe you need to think about this, you need to think about that, or put yourself in the other person on the other side of the fence, right, and see if the message that I'm sending is either is packaged enough so you can consume it. Is it the words that I'm saying? Right. Is it the tone? Right? Because our generation nowadays is sensitive.
That is true.
I don't want to generalize, but like a slight change of tone can mean so much, right? Like if my father told me, Ray, okay, he's serious. Mm-hmm. I changed my mind and said, okay, this guy is really serious. But now, that may not just be sufficient, right? They may think that you're bluffing, right? So, and it may not work. It may actually be the reverse. It may close them. So there's so many different things. So let me go back to, but yes, you have to make sure that in this two-way communication that you deliver the message, that the message is understandable and they can register. Okay.
So this actually throws me into the next question for you, Manny, because I've seen, by being a parent, I've actually seen you, communicate, and I've always said to myself, if you don't take away anything from this brother, if you ever seen him communicate with his daughter, it's awesome because he actually speaks to her. You know what I mean? So this is, Manny, I would love for you to answer this question on, where you got, how you came about to, figure your communication skills out, with your daughter, versus, your upbringing, because you could change everybody's mind about how to.
That's a great question. That's an awesome question.
To communicate with their child.
It's a great question.
What happens? Now everybody's laughing, right? Hold on. Ray, hold on. Everybody's laughing because what I'm saying doesn't register. So the mind right away is either funny or you get defensive, because that's what we wire, right? That's a form, that's me trying to communicate, right? We speak a language and we convey our message. I know Ray was cracking up on it, and I'm going to answer your question, right? But that's how important communication is, right? We're not that far away from the apes. We're not that far away from, right? We are animals at the core. Thank goodness we're able to communicate, but we still have times where we can't do that, right? We can't convey our message. And I just want to clear up a couple of things. I think that when you communicate, it's because you want something. From, like Eddie said, from day one, you come out of the womb, you're crying, somebody feed me, somebody shelter me, somebody keep me warm. You're trying to communicate. You just don't know how to speak, right? So that's one thing. We always want something when we communicate. Always remember that. So when your kid communicates, or an adult, somebody at work, we always want something, whether you admit it or not, whether it's love, it's affection, it's a hug, it's money, we want something. So how you relay your message or convey your message is key. Now, with that being said, a couple of things I always feel is the relationship that you have with the person, right? If you already established a pretty decent relationship with respects to the person respecting you, seeing you as a person that, wait a minute, he's speaking. Now, if you're a joker, a clown, and you're always playing games, guess what? It's going to be that lengthy of a conversation, and you probably won't get what you want. But anyway, to answer your question, Chuck, I just saw at an early age how, we joke about it, but our parents, the way that a lot of times they're communicating was beating our asses, right? Grabbing whatever was around the time and hitting us, right? And that's how you treat an animal, right? When you want an animal to do something, you beat them. And a lot of the times people are raised to believe that that's the only way to do things, and really not. Over time, we get educated, right? I read a lot of books. I had a mentor that passed away, but I started reading a lot of books on communication, and I learned that you get what you put in, just like in life. So I was sharing this with Eddie and Charles the other day, and I was just telling them that if you don't, you expect your kid to do something, your child to do something, you have to spend the time to explain what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Example, you want your kid to mow the lawn. You don't just say, hey, Saturday, 8 o'clock, I expect you to mow the lawn. And then you go out, look outside your window. Chances are your kid is not going to be doing that, right? And I'm not saying you have to do that every time, but you get them accustomed to what you expect, your expectations. So if you explain to your child why is it important to cut the lawn, what the outcome is, and how that's going to make the day go better and go forward, right? Whether it's for them or for the whole family, and how that has an effect on the house looking good, on you trying to reach your goals, and then in turn, what they're going to get out of it, I think that goes a really long way. But basically, it's just, Chuck, I'm giving you the very, very winded answer, but basically I read a lot on communication. Okay. Yeah. I don't always get it right. There's still times where I'm like, wait a minute, I wasn't expecting that response. Then before I blow up at her, I'm like, wait a minute, let me check myself. Did I take the time? Did I just come from work after not being home all day and expect her to do things? Or did I sit down with her, see where her mind frame is at, understood? And some people might be like, that's too much. I don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. But guess what? The result you're going to get is that attitude or that conflict or that, because you're not putting in the time. You can't expect, things to come out. You can't expect what you're expecting if you haven't put in the time. That's anything. That's with anything. At work, right? Some people want raises, right? But you haven't even put in the time. Damn, I can't wait to get that raise. How you're really giving your 110%. Right? Same thing with a kid. I'm almost done, Chuck. If you don't spend the time, you're not going to get the result. And that's even with your wife, your friends, you're not going to get it, man. Sorry for the long-winded.
But I'd like to add something to that, Chuck, if I may, right? So and we all have teenage kids. Mine's a little older, but in terms of their generation and their knowledge and the way and that pattern, right? Mm-hmm. The way that they talk, if we put all of our kids together and just listen to how they communicate and everything else, you will be amazed, because you know what? They make many references. They have different lingos and everything else, mm-hmm. right? And in that sense, it's awesome because we can put them anywhere and they'll be able to communicate, right?
Sure, correct.
However, in my mind, the danger of that that pattern is that, they get that from somewhere and not always from home. So if we're not present in making sure that, when I'm talking about borderline disrespectful, talking back, because in their circle, whatever they see, it's okay to, I understand what you're saying, question, but sometimes there's a way of questioning or talking back. Like, to me, I think there's a little bit the sense of respect. If you don't make sure that that's still, very key in the communication, that is slowly disappearing in the way we communicate. And me as a parent, I got to make sure that, okay, I got to understand that, okay, maybe they're not really trying to be disrespectful, but that's just how they communicate, because now we want to be their friends. Because trust me, I could never be a friend to my dad. Never. But I could be a friend to Marcus and me, because I'm just trying to make sure I could understand. But go ahead, Chuck.
So that's leading me. I mean, man, between you and Matt, you just kind of threw everything on.
Sorry, Chuck.
I'm sorry, Chuck.
No. But that's good though, because it's leading me into this next, I won't say question or statement, but this is one of the key elements of communicating with a child, because if you don't listen to a child,
right,
then you lose them. Because you can't always just talk to them.
Talk
They
at them, right?
Right. Man, I tell you, if no one walks away from anything else and not knowing that if you don't listen to a kid, communication all goes out the window.
Correct.
And just like I said, I've learned that because there's kids in the house, right? And they all have different personalities. So if you don't listen to each one of them, you will never know them. They may not like you. They're gonna give you some resistance until you could speak to them. But if you don't listen to them, you might as well give up. And I'll throw that to any one of you to see if, to even give some feedback on that, just to kind of, throw some more, how true that is.
Yeah.
I like to put Eddie on the spot, because he's the one dealing with that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think we all do. And you guys are giving some really amazing pointers, and it you guys are just as educated as I am. What I did want to add to this conversation is communication comes in different forms, right? And different settings, and you enter sometimes certain messages during certain settings, right? We can't always come out and act like the father. Hey, I want to talk to you, or whatever that, it can be while you're shopping. It could be through a movie. It can be through a game. You can be playing a sport. It can be through, when they least expect that you're really trying to talk to them. Those are the moments, like almost like a non-threatening moment. And then there are some more serious conversations, like Ray said. Hey, Ray, I want to talk to you. You're like, okay, sit down. You back up, you sit down, and you're like, yes, sir. But I think that's something that is taught. We cannot assume, just like Manny says, we cannot assume that children know what you're thinking just because you're thinking it and you expect for the certain outcome to be. We have to teach them almost everything, just like a computer, just like the way we do, right? Just like you put everything in a computer. Computers only know what they're programmed to. Not that we're programming children, but to an extent, we are showing them what we would like to see in the future, right? A lot of it, and I will say this, right? A lot of it, we may not see the results of our teachings till later on in life, but a lot of it is being understood without them letting you know that they understood. So yes, there is a different time right now with children. They are a little bit more out, they're a little bit more outspoken. Certain things that maybe we didn't do when we were children, they do, and we have to adjust. Manny says, it's a game of adjustment. It's a game of adjustment. And you're like, well, that didn't work, but that doesn't mean we give up. It doesn't mean we go down to their level, right? Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, we still want that communication. We still want that progress. And so we still want success, right?
Yeah.
We cannot turn a heart to heart into an argument and walk away. And you accomplished absolutely nothing. Well, actually, you accomplished more problems and less communication and more distancing, right? So, I guess the point that I'm making is it's just always talk to your child and spend time. It's not only when, right? It's different moments, right? Like,
and they do listen too. Yeah.
They do listen. They do listen, you know, and
Believe it or not.
yeah.
But I also want to put the elephant in the, talk about the elephant in the room. It could be very frustrating when you think that they are not listening and they're not communicating, right? So let's not just pretend that it's everything, it's always rosy, right? So there's sometimes where they just, they at least in my opinion, they'll say, you know what, let me turn off the communication. I'm done.
So you know what? I'm sorry, but you know what we get, and I think that's what you're saying, and I'm. It's just that you struck something in my mind, and I don't want to let it go because then I don't think I'll ever come. But we're good, and communication is great sometimes when you say yes, sure, yeah, here, let's do it. Right. But once you say, you know what, I don't think that's a good idea. There's a little danger in that. So all of a sudden you don't understand me. But this is where we have to be the bigger person and say, well, you know what, you can do what you want. And we cannot feed into that because remember, they're trying to figure things out. And at the same time, the same way we're trying to teach them, they're trying to get away with things. And if they get away with it, then all we're doing is letting them get away with it and setting a certain tone. Correct. So if they act a certain way, we're like, okay, fine, go. Well, guess what's going to happen the next time around? They pout a little bit, they cry a little bit, they act a certain way, and you're gonna let them go again. So now they're parenting you kind of. They're this is what they do.
I got him around my finger. Yep.
I got him around, and sometimes they win, and sometimes you gotta let them think they win. You know what I mean? Like you can't fight them all. You can't fight them all.
Don't give the secrets. Don't give the secrets. Don't give the secrets.
And sometimes you're just tired, you know.
One tip for the parents out there. One thing that I like to do when I want to have a topic to discuss with my kid or something, go in a nice long car ride. They can't jump out the car. Put them right next to you and start. Oh, we're gonna go somewhere. They can't go anywhere, but they have to listen to you. Yep. So that's something that I do rarely, but when I have to convey a message that I think is strong, let's go here for a second. Before you know it, an hour later into the ride, I've already said my piece. We discussed it, and they're focused. They can't look anywhere but front, right? So
Manny, you've been to Canada before, huh?
Many times.
You're gonna take some long trips with some of these kids. They'll be on their phone. They'll be no. And I guess no, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. But yeah, those are good points, man.
Yeah, man, and I tell you, look, you actually brought up another good point. You can't always say yes. It's like that. That's a demon to a parent, right? Because if this kid never hears no, and the first time they ever hear no, that may set them off in their head to where
right,
they could cut all communication off. If they really want to be that spiteful. Yeah. So man, it's like all the points that you guys said just kept just helped me ease into this next. Oh man, so that's it. So great point of, like I said, can't tell the kids yes all the time. So how would you go about it? So just getting into habit, how would you break it down to getting in the habit of telling your kid no? How should you go about it? I mean, I know you can't come strong with it, but you have to ease into it. Manny, how would you go about if you've never told your daughter no, and then you told her no, how would you just go about it instead of just going no?
Yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to have a great partner that taught me how to say no. When my kid was small, she would let her cry in the crib. She would tell me, Manny, she's already fed, she's changed, she's fine, she's testing us. And I think that's where it begins from day one, because that worked so lovely. That following week, we slept like babies. And where I'm going is that if not giving in to everything that they want. So that was a way of her saying, no, you're okay, right? And to this day, my wife gives her a look, and she knows that she's in trouble. She knows, and I love that, because I don't know if I was a single parent, because my mother was tough, loved my mother to death, but she gave in a lot of the times, a lot of bark, but she gave in. Luckily, as you can see, I turned out to be fine.
You definitely
but thank you. But my wife, she has that because her mother told her no in a lot of ways, if you know what I mean. But she told Emma no, and I learned, that's another anchor of mine, that my wife knows how to say no. it's okay. She can cry, scream, but I was fortunate enough, Chuck, that I learned from my wife how to say no. But if I had to answer your question, if I didn't have someone, I would probably educate myself, but learn how to accept that it's going to hurt me for me to say no in the moment, but down the line, it's going to pay off tenfold.
So this next question is to you, Ray. So, did you want to? I'm sorry. Did you want to answer it?
No, I was just agreeing with everything that Manny was saying, because I was going through the same stuff over the summer, and I was just going to give an example in terms of, so obviously, when my kids were a little bit younger, when they would ask me certain things like, go away with friends, I'll be like, I don't think you're ready yet. You're too young. So, and they kind of had that in their back of their minds because I was thinking about their safety and everything else. Right. Because, but in hindsight, I didn't take the time to know who they were going to go with and everything else. So to me, it was immediate no. Right. So a couple of years ago, Marcus comes up to me and says, hey, listen, hey, I'm going to go to Florida. And I said, okay. He said, but I have to ask you. I'm like, no, you really don't have to anymore. You're of age, right? So, and then I just realized that, okay, to your point, Eddie, they do listen, right? But then it was also like a rite of passage to him to say, okay, you know what? Oh, I'm at a point where, I'm making my decision, and it's my decision. And he felt like he had to ask me because of the way, that particular instance of how we interacted. Sure. And it made me reflect. It made me, I felt good in a way, but also felt bad because, I felt like I held him a little bit for quite some time. Like he didn't want to go on a trip without letting me know and everything else, but he was of age. Right. So, but I like the fact that he came to me and said, hey,
that's beautiful.
But then when I turned around and said, well, okay, Marcus, you don't really, it's your decision. He was like, in his way, he was like, oh, bet, like he felt, okay, now I can make the responsible the decisions. So my point there is like, you say no, but then after a while, you have to realize, let them make the decision and see if your teachings actually kind of sunk in and say, okay, because we say no for them because we want to protect them, right? Because we don't want, exactly. But then if we leave it up to them, then they take on that responsibility and say, okay, is this going to be dangerous? Is this going to be blah, blah, blah? So they take on, and then they can make the decision.
Sure.
So I'm glad you get to that point, but that's what I wanted to add.
That's a great example, right? And I'm glad that he came. And that's actually what we're saying. The reason he came to you is out of respect. All those years of you saying, no, or think about it, or this, that's a great. Today, Eddie O was on the phone. We were on a call on a different topic. And my son happened to call me. He mentioned to me that he's getting Invisalign. He doesn't have to do that, but he feels a certain respect. And he's like, Dad, I like the way you think with finance and stuff like that. What do you think? This is what they're talking about. To me, that is priceless because that means that he heard me throughout all those years, And he knows he doesn't have to mention it to me. He pays his own damn bills. But out of respect, he, reaches out. And that was pretty much the same thing, right? That's great. Don't ever say you don't have to ask me. Yeah, I appreciate you coming to me. Let's see what kind of flight tickets did you get? Where are you staying? Not so much because you're invading his privacy, but more like, we're already at a different level. You know what I mean? So,
right. So Eddie, I want to ask you this question too. So, it's always exciting when it comes to Eddie. It's always exciting to hear his answer. So, in your experience, how do you deal with, telling a child no, just knowing their attitudes and knowing their reactions and knowing, how they can and may not react?
I love that question. Because I face it every day. Every day I have a 17-year-old daughter, and every day I don't want to say no to everything. And I'm gonna share a little story, but I never want to say no. I don't want a perfect child. When I say perfect, a child who follows everything by the book, a person who does everything. Why? Because eventually, being a person in this very crucial, hard world, unfortunately, if you don't have any kind of strength and some oomph to you, then they're going to walk all over you, whether it's a relationship, whether it's in a job, whether it's your supervisor. And sometimes you want that child. And it doesn't mean that I'm not saying I'm raising my child to be mean or to be, you know, a cheating kind of person. But a lot of times when I feel that I don't want my daughter to do something, Chuck, I kind of give her the two sides of what it is. And then I have her think, and I have her say, well, what are the pros and cons of the situation, right? Like she's asking me, oh yeah, my friends want to do you know, they're planning a party and it's an Airbnb
Right.
and they want to go to Newark. And I'm like, well, let's think about it, right? I'm like, yeah, okay, well, she's 17 and I understand. I don't want to say totally no, but you know, but I do want her to be her own person.
Right.
We've had heart to hearts and she answers this way. And when she answers this way, I know she's listening and I know she's growing as well. She's always going to be my little girl, but now she's a 17-year-old girl, which is one more year. That's it. 18. You know, I got to start letting go a little bit of certain things that can protect her forever. And sometimes protecting her is not protecting her because she says things like this to me. She says, you know, she says, Papa, you sometimes, you know, you can't hold me forever. You got to allow me to make my own mistakes the way you did yours. The reason you parent the way you do, the reason you parent the way you do is because you know the dangers. I don't know those dangers out there. Not that I'm trying to be in a dangerous situation, but I don't know them. And if I don't know how to strategize and how to move away from the situation, then I'll never fend for myself. And when she says things like that, then I say, then you totally get what I'm trying to say. So then from there, I say, well, okay, well then let's do it like this, right? And then you could talk about, you know, update me when you get to this place, or you do the whole what do you call it? Yeah, that find my iPhone thing, or you know, but with reasons for her to understand. Look, it's very hard for a parent, a single parent at that, to try to protect at all times. So there's little things that you may want to do so we can continue.
Wait. Ladies, did you hear that? Single parent, just in case anybody wants to. That's a quick plug. Quick plug.
Leave your numbers in the comment below. I'm just saying.
Spanish.
No. But yeah, and you know, and Chuck, just to kind of, and you know, just to clinch this up, it's hard. It's there's never an answer. And I think we mentioned earlier, you have to adjust. There's been moments where I've made decisions. I'm like, wow, I don't know if I should have done that. But then the moment goes, things are safe, and then it gives me another opportunity to adjust. And then I will talk to her. I say, you know what, Brianna, I really didn't want to let you go there, but you went and everything was fine. You're showing me more maturity. So sometimes what we do is that we build the person up to the expectations of what is expected. For example, I say, you know what, I really appreciate it. And let them know. I really appreciate the fact that when you got there, you called me. That kept me at ease.
That's so big.
You know,
so big.
I really do appreciate that when you were about to come back home, you said, I'm leaving. So, because that allows me to work with me too, right? I never use violence because I think violence causes violence and it causes frustration and separation. And they don't see you as a person who they can open to. And really what you want, and I'm gonna end now, but really what I want is, you don't have to tell me everything, but if you are ever if you're in ever any kind of danger, just know I'm your first person. You know, and I really want you to call me. It's not about you getting in trouble if I find out that you're in a situation because maybe you shouldn't be there. Allow me to save you. You're my, that you're my world, but that's just all in communication. But it didn't start today. That's that's a lifetime of talking, moments and doing things, and
yes.
Man.
Let me touch base on
quality time with her.
And let me speak on that real quick. I have a quick. No, you're good. That was beautifully said, man. Beautifully said.
That was beautiful.
And just to piggyback of what you're saying, as far as what did you say? I appreciate that. Those things go so far off into right because you're making an emotional deposit into your child, just like you deposit money into the bank. You deposit those little emotions. I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. We don't take time when we get what we want to assure what they did, right? Because what happens is you're making emotional deposits, and when you cash in, when they mess up, and it hurts them 3 times because they're like, damn, my daddy's been bigging me up, or my mom has been bigging me up because I'm doing the right thing. Now they know they messed up. It's like that hurts 3 times because you no longer appreciate it. You're giving them the cold shoulder, or they know you're upset with them. But anyway, go ahead, Chuck. I know we've got to wrap up, man. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing?
Of course.
So another thing I do is I invite her friends here. I invite her party here and start building relationships with her circle. And when her circle starts saying, wow, you have a cool dad, or wow, she starts seeing me more, maybe she'll start seeing me more like, at the end of the day, I'm her dad. And I'm the yes and I'm the yay and the nay for her. I'm the one that would allow or not allow. But if she starts seeing that I'm building relationships, not relationship, but really communication, and her friends start liking to talk to me, then her mind is going to open up so much so that it's going to be easier to talk to, because this is what it is, you know. Vocabulary has a lot to do with it. So this is a little tip that her friends tell me. It says, don't say no, don't say don't. Say, you know what, I'm a little bit disappointed in the decision. Disappoint hurts. This is like a lingual. When you say, I'm a little disappointed in the decision you made, that may be more effective than, I don't want you to do this, you're never going to go get. It shuts you down automatically.
They're going to do it anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And that's what I was saying, like that, you know, in the beginning, like you have to be able to, like, you know, like be able to be on the same channel, being able to register and really have that backdoor channel to make sure that, you know what, let's find another way of expressing a particular sentiment or feeling, right? Because again, you know, I have a boy and a girl, right? So obviously it's two different reactions that I get, right? Where, you know, with my son, you know, it's like, okay, I get it. And I'm not saying that, you know, because, you know, she's my daughter and everything else, and I have to be extra careful. No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. It's just that, you know, I have to be able to really understand how she is trying to communicate, because they all have different communications, right? And if I just try to use just one for both, it's not going to work.
That's right.
Right.
And that's why I said one of the key things is listening to them. I mean, you don't have to like verbally, like you guys said, just listen to them, pay attention to them. When you paying attention to them, that's the same thing as listening to them, because they're taking it in the same way, because you're not speaking, or if you're not speaking and they're speaking, and you look like you're engaging with them, then that's big, because they feel now that they're comfortable, because, you know, you're giving them what they've probably been looking for anyway, just a little bit more of your attention.
Good point. Very good point.
So look, we could talk about this all night. And listen, man, I just want to say thank you to my brothers, because, man, you guys hit on.
Thank you. Great questions, man.
Man, you guys came to the point, you know, hit my points before I could even ask them. So, man, kudos, man, big up to you guys, man.
Thank you.
Man, I want to say, man, to our listeners, man, without you, man, you make this possible. So I want to say Happy New Year's, Happy 21. You know, remember, always hit the subscribe button, you know, leave messages, comments, and stuff like that. And man, to my brothers,
share the knowledge.
Yes.
Share.
United Podcast.
Knowledge without borders. Knowledge without borders.
2021, baby. Let's get this.
That's right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.